August 4th, 1962. Do you remember when telephones had cords that stretched across rooms? Marilyn Monroe sat at her vanity mirror in her Bel Air home, staring at 3 pieces of cream-colored stationery. Each one had a name written at the top. Each one held a different truth, and by morning, one of them would be gone forever. The clock on her nightstand, one of those wind-up alarm clocks with bells on top, showed 11:47 p.m. Her housekeeper had gone to bed. The house was silent except for the hum of air conditioning and Marilyn's breathing. 3 letters, 3 men, 3 different versions of herself. She picked up her Mont Blanc fountain pen, the kind that left real ink stains on your fingers, and began to write, "Dear Jack." But nobody knew what she'd discovered just 6 hours earlier. That afternoon, 5:30 p.m. Do you remember when doctors made house calls? Dr. Ralph Greenson, Marilyn's psychiatrist, visited her at home. Their daily session. They sat in her living room, white carpet, Mexican furniture, that distinctive 1960s California style. "How are you sleeping?" Dr. Greenson asked, though he knew the answer. The prescription bottles told the story. Nembutal, Seconal, chloral hydrate. Pills to sleep, pills to wake, pills to feel normal. "I'm not," Marilyn said. Her voice, that breathy, famous voice, was different in private. Deeper, tired. "Ralph, do you think it's possible to be surrounded by people and still be completely alone? Is that how you feel?" "I feel like I'm 3 different people. There's Marilyn Monroe, the one the world sees. Then there's Norma Jean, the orphan terrified of being sent back. And then I don't even know who the real me is anymore." "Tell me about the men in your life," Marilyn laughed bitterly. "Which ones? The president who calls when convenient? The baseball player who still loves me but can't save me? Or you, Ralph, the only man who gets paid to listen?" "Wait, because what Dr. Greenson said next would haunt him forever." "Marilyn, I think you should check into a facility, somewhere you can rest, away from Hollywood, away from the phones." She looked at him with those famous blue eyes. "You mean a mental hospital? Say it, Ralph." "You want to lock me up like they locked up my mother." "That's not my mother went crazy. She used to say, 'The voices won't stop, Norma Jean.' And now I hear them too. What if I'm becoming her?" Dr. Greenson stood to leave. "Promise me you'll call if you need anything tonight." "I promise," Marilyn said. But she was already thinking about the letters she needed to write. But here's what makes this heartbreaking. After he left, Marilyn made 3 phone calls. 15 p.m. She dialed from memory. Remember when you could remember dozens of phone numbers? The phone rang 4 times. "Hello?" "Joe, it's me." Joe DiMaggio's voice softened immediately. "Marilyn, how are you, baby?" The Yankee Clipper. One of the greatest baseball players ever. They'd been divorced 8 years, but he never stopped loving her. Never remarried. "I'm okay," she lied. "I needed to hear your voice. Do you ever think about our wedding day, City Hall, San Francisco, January 1954? You wore that blue suit. I remember everything about you, Marilyn. We were happy then, weren't we? Before the photographers. Before I became too much Marilyn and not enough Norma Jean for you." Joe's voice cracked. "You were never too much. I just didn't know how to share you with the world. I wanted you all to myself." What if I said I wanted to come back? Long pause. 8 years of regret and hope. I'd say I never stopped waiting. But Marilyn, you have to want it for the right reasons. Not because you're scared or lonely. Because you actually want me. The boring ex-ball player who reads the sports section and doesn't go to Hollywood parties. That sounds perfect right now. Then come, tonight I'll drive down, we'll talk. Let me think about it, I'll call you back. Promise? I promise. She hung up, but she didn't call back. And here's what Joe never knew. She made a second call immediately after. 6:45 p.m. She dialed Washington, D.C., a private line. "Hello?" A guarded, recognizable voice. "It's me." President John F. Kennedy sighed. "Marilyn, you can't call this number." "Jack, I need to see you. I need to talk about—" "That's not possible. After the birthday party, we agreed. It's too risky. Remember that party? Madison Square Garden, May 1962. Marilyn in that dress singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." The whole world watched. Jackie Kennedy didn't attend. I'm pregnant. Dead silence. Breathing, then calculating. That's not possible. It is. It's true, and I don't know. Marilyn, listen carefully. You need to handle this. Quietly, I can't be involved. I have a family, a country to run. This cannot become public. Handle this? You mean get rid of it? I have to go. Don't call this number again. Click. That particular clunk of a rotary phone being hung up. Finality. Marilyn sat holding the receiver, listening to the dial tone. That steady buzz meaning nobody was there anymore. But the third call changed everything. 7:30 p.m. She dialed Dr. Greenson's home. "Ralph, I'm sorry to call it home, but I need more pills. The Nembutal isn't working. I took 2 and I'm still awake." "Marilyn, you know I can't prescribe more. You're already taking too much." "I don't." "Want warm milk? I want to stop thinking, stop feeling, stop being Marilyn Monroe for just one night." "I'm coming over. Don't take anything else, nothing. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Don't bother, I'm fine." Marilyn, she hung up, then unplugged the phone from the wall. Remember when you could just disconnect completely? And that's when she sat down to write the 3 letters that would tell the complete truth. 10:47 p.m., back at the Vanity. 3 pieces of cream stationery, 3 truths. The first letter to President Kennedy was brutal. "Dear Jack, you took everything, my heart, my body, my trust, and now possibly my future. When I needed you most, you hung up. I thought you were different. I thought you saw Norma Jean, not just Marilyn. I was wrong. You're just another man who wanted the fantasy but couldn't handle reality. I'm pregnant. By the time you read this, I'll have made my decision. But I wanted you to know what your cowardice cost." She folded it. Envelope. His name. The second letter to Joe DiMaggio was full of regret. "Dear Joe, you asked if I wanted to come back for the right reasons. I don't know what those are anymore. I do know you're the only man who ever loved Norma Jean instead of Marilyn. The only one who wanted less of me instead of more. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to choose boring and real over exciting and empty. If I could do it again, I'd choose you. I'd choose Sunday mornings and coffee. I'd choose being Mrs. DiMaggio instead of being Marilyn Monroe. I'm so sorry, Joe." She folded it. Envelope. His name. The third letter, to Dr. Greenson, was devastating. "Dear Ralph, you asked if it's possible to be surrounded by people and still be alone. Yes, it is. I'm the most famous woman in the world, and nobody really knows me. They know Marilyn, the walk, the voice, the image. But Norma Jean, the foster kid who dreamed of being loved, she's invisible. I'm so tired of being invisible while being seen by millions. You were right about the facility, but I'm too scared. What if I go in and never come out? What if I become my mother? You tried to help me. Sorry I was too broken to be fixed." She folded it. Envelope, his name, 3 letters. 3 truths. 3 different versions of goodbye. But here's what nobody could have predicted. She burned one of them. 15 a.m., August 5th now. Marilyn walked to the fireplace. Remember when homes had real fireplaces? She stood with 3 envelopes. Looking at each name, Jack, Joe, Ralph, the president, the baseball player, the psychiatrist, the one who abandoned her, the one who never stopped loving her, the one who tried to save her. She made her choice. Struck a match, those wooden kitchen matches. The sulfur smell. She held the letter to the flame, watched it catch, watched the cream stationery turn brown, then black, then ash. Which one did she burn? The bitter letter to Kennedy, protecting his legacy? The loving letter to DiMaggio, unable to burden him? Or the honest letter to Greenson, too ashamed? Nobody knows, because by morning only 2 letters were found, and Marilyn wasn't alive to tell which truth she'd erased. And here's where it gets even more tragic. Eunice Murray woke up. Light was on under Marilyn's door. The phone cord stretched across the hallway, unplugged. She knocked. "Miss Monroe?" No answer. Door locked from inside. Through the window she saw Marilyn on the bed, face down, naked. Phone receiver in her hand even though it wasn't connected. Like she'd been trying to call someone, trying to reach out one last time. Eunice called Dr. Greenson, then police. By dawn, the house was full of people. all of them surrounding Marilyn Monroe in death the way they had in life, looking, analyzing, taking pieces. On her nightstand, empty prescription bottles, Nembutal, Seconal, chloral hydrate. Enough to stop anyone's heart. And on her vanity, 2 letters, sealed, ready to be mailed, one to Joe DiMaggio, one to Dr. Greenson, but no letter to President Kennedy. That one was gone, burned, erased, or was it? Years later, people claimed they found a 3rd letter, half burned in the fireplace. Just a corner with 2 words, Dear Jack. Others claimed it was removed by Secret Service to protect the president. Some believe she burned the letter to DiMaggio, unable to burden him. Others think she burned Greenson's letter, too ashamed. The truth? Nobody knows, and maybe that's the point. In life, Marilyn was an open book, analyzed by millions. In death, she kept one final secret. Which truth did she erase, and why? But here's what we do know, what happened after. Joe DiMaggio received his letter 3 days later. He read it, wept, never showed it to anyone. He planned her funeral, kept Hollywood out. He sent roses to her grave 3 times a week for 20 years until his death in 1999. Never remarried. When asked why, I still love her, Dr. Greenson received his letter. Read it. Spent the rest of his life tormented. Could I have saved her? He died in 1979, his reputation forever tied to his most famous patient's death. President Kennedy never publicly acknowledged her death beyond a brief statement. But those close to him said he was shaken, guilty. In November 1963, 16 months later, Kennedy himself was gone, assassinated in Dallas. 3 men. 3 letters, 3 different forms of grief. But which one never got to read her final words? And here's why this still matters today. 62 years later, Marilyn Monroe remains the most famous symbol of Hollywood glamour. Her image everywhere, posters, t-shirts, coffee mugs. That white dress, that breathy voice, that platinum hair and red lips. But how many know about Norma Jean, the foster kid,